Hi there, I'm Frank Crenshaw. This is my Part 6 video on building Eduard's P-51D in 1/48 scale. As you can see at this point, the model is mostly done, mostly painted. Not everything's glued together though. The horizontal stabs are not actually glued on yet, but they're painted, and I think I'm very happy with how that turned out. I still need to do a little bit of touch-up. A few of these black squares need just a little bit of work. Nothing major, but I would like them to look a little bit better than they do. As you can see, the ailerons and the elevators, or the flaps, are not glued in yet. And that actually brings up one of the weaknesses of the kit that I'm going to need to address. Get these parts out of the way. So as you can see here, maybe you can see this wingtip, curves down and goes back behind the aileron. Well, this Eduard plastic is very brittle and very fragile and breaks quite easy. And somehow in handling this model, I broke that off. That's going to be a pain in the butt to fix and repair. I would recommend, if you're building this kit and you're building this kit without the need to remove the aileron, I would glue the ailerons in early in the build, or as soon as you can, to protect these wingtips, because they are extremely fragile. This one broke off. This one is okay, I guess. I think we're okay there. So you can see I have a little bit of paint touch-up to do. My star and bar has needs a little bit of work down here. Nothing major, but that's easy to do. Anyway, this model is basically painted, and the next phase will just be decals. One of the things that I was talking about in one of my earlier videos is the spinner, and how I was very unhappy with the Eduard spinner out of the box. It had a giant gash in it, and I couldn't figure out how I was going to remove that gash while still maintaining the wonderful detail that was molded into it. And frankly, what I did is I just gave up. I wound up buying an Eduard spinner for it, and the Eduard spinner, it's about $8, but it's beautiful. It just fits perfectly and works great. I did stick a magnet in it, just like my usual for spinners. But anyway, that was a fairly easy solution to that problem. Here's the original spinner that I was doing work on to make sure that I didn't have that gap. And I was eventually going to get it repainted, and it would have looked basically as good as this. It just would have been more work. So I'm very happy with the resin spinner. The kit spinner, if you can avoid that gap, isn't bad, but just straight out of the box in assembling, the Eduard spinner is really good. So if you're interested in that. So in one of my earlier construction phases, one of the dumbest things I've done in a while, I glued the landing gear on backwards, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to fix that. And my initial attempts right now are, I have drilled pilot holes in these stubs. I had to cut the gear legs off because obviously they were facing the wrong way, and it was really the only thing I could do. So I cut the gear legs off as close to the wing as I could, and I was going to use the kit parts, but the bow, the actual bow in the kit part, is very fragile and kept breaking on me, and I was getting really annoyed. Anyway, I just wound up picking up these Eduard bronze landing gear, and they're really nice. They got a little bit of some mold, like, I don't know what they call it, but they're rough. I mean, it's not super clean and ready to just put in. This needs to be sanded a little bit, but the detail is exquisite, and it is very strong. I mean, it is really strong. But I got this problem because, that isn't going to fit in there. So how do I fix that? So what I came up with is this. I cut off the top, right where that top flange is, because that's basically what that is right there, is the top flange. And then I did a very, very careful drilling down the center, and I stuck a brass rod in it. And then ideally, oh, I guess I got the wrong side. Ideally, it will just fit right in there. So when it comes time to glue the landing gear back on, I'm simply going to do that, and I will use epoxy to set them and make sure the angle's correct. I'll build a jig, and I'll let that harden up good, and then this problem should be over. But anyway, that was a rather dumb thing for me to do. So don't do that. Do not accidentally, glue your landing gear backwards. That was really stupid. But this camouflage, the next thing I'm going to have to do is this camouflage. All the yellow tails, where the yellow tail is, kind of where this piece of tape is right here, and wherever it transitions from the actual silver to the checkers, there's a black stripe on the real aircraft. So I'm gonna have to recreate that. And I've done some thinking about that, and I think the best way to do that is actually going to be decals. So to that end, I have some micro scale decals. I think they're the wrong size though. These are 1/64. They're pretty fine, the lines. So I got on the micro scale website and I ordered some 1/32. And 1/32 works out to be about a millimeter-ish, millimeter and a half, somewhere in there. Anyway, a little bit bigger, and I think that's what I need. So I'm gonna have to wait for those to come in. Those will be in next week, but that'll be a pretty easy fix to that problem. I could cut masks and try doing it, but I'll be honest with you, it'd be a real pain in the butt, especially here on this particular section here. So I'm just going to cut masks, or I'm just going to use a decal and solve that problem quite simply. One thing I did want to talk about, so I have a few wheel options. This is the Eduard wheel, and this is the Ultracast wheel. I guess Barracuda Resins makes a wheel too, but I don't have one of those to compare. But the Ultracast Canada wheel fits perfectly into this landing gear bow. I mean, it's perfect. It just fits absolutely perfect, and will look perfect. I mean, it'll look fine. Now, the detail in the Eduard wheel is really good. I mean, I would use the Eduard wheel, except for one major problem. It doesn't fit. Unbelievably, it doesn't fit. That's the top of the tire right there, and that's the landing gear, bottom of the landing gear. I mean, you can force it in there, but this is like, you're gonna have to cut a channel through the tire. I'm pretty sure the real one didn't have that, and that's going to stand out. I mean, that's really going to stand out, and especially in a build like this where I'm trying to make it look nice. That's just going to be really awful. That's unacceptable. I have no idea why Eduard did this. And I have a couple other wheels, some True Details wheels, and even the kit wheels fit. I have no idea why their wheel that they designed for their set doesn't fit their part. I mean, that's completely unacceptable. I do not suggest you buy these wheels. They are useless. I mean, useless. I did read in Facebook, somebody was suggesting you cut 1.6 millimeters off the bottom of this and everything's good. Well, 1.6 millimeters is going to take you up past these eye bolts here. It's going to look stupid. I mean, it's going to look really bad. It won't look right. I don't recommend that. I really don't think that's the best solution. The best solution is don't buy these wheels. Okay, well, in my next video, I will try to figure out what I'm going to do for stencils, and I'll clean up my my painting a little bit, and we should be on to weathering. Thanks for watching.